My name is Eva Sinclair. I'm 32, born into Atlanta wealth, raised in the shadow of a construction empire that was built brick by my late father, and dismantled piece by piece by the man my mother married after his funeral. While my sister Marisol thrived in charity galas and soft press interviews, I was buried in concrete mix ratios and budget overruns, the invisible architect behind a billion-dollar company that carried our name. I've always known I didn't fit their narrative. Not charming enough, not obedient enough, not blood enough. And I told myself for years that my work would speak louder than the whispers about who truly belonged. But I was wrong. The moment I saw the $980 million deal signed in my name, a deal I never touched, I knew the betrayal wasn't personal. It was surgical. I stayed quiet, but only long enough to set the whole thing on fire. Sinclair Holdings, 6:02 p.m. The building was half-lit, humming low, the kind of hush that only came when power had been shuffled behind closed doors. The air conditioning hissed from the ceiling, like it didn't want to be overheard. I walked past the operations floor where my team had once trusted me, past empty chairs and abandoned monitors glowing like ghosts. An alert blinked red on my screen. Executive meeting. Mandatory attendance. Location. Executive conference room time. 6:15 p.m. attendees. Walter Marisol board. I wasn't on the board. Not officially. But I designed every major operations protocol the board had ever voted on. This felt like a purge. I walked in. Leather chairs. Polished mahogany. Walter sat at the head of the table, his Rolex flashing beneath the soft light. Marisol lounged beside him, perfectly made up, her blazer cream-colored and creaseless. "Eva," Walter said, nodding. "Glad you could join us." My chair wasn't at the table. It was pushed against the wall. Symbolism, subtle as a fist to the ribs. He spoke like a news anchor. "We're announcing a leadership transition. Effective immediately, Marisol will assume the role of Chief Executive Officer of Sinclair Holdings. All voting rights associated with the family's shares have been transferred accordingly." I didn't move. I didn't blink. "She's earned it," he added, as if that made the guillotine quieter. I looked at Marisol. She smiled like this was a wedding toast. "Eva," she said softly, "we both know you're not really into the public-facing part of the business. This allows you to focus on what you're best at, the back-end logistics. A back room. No voice. No vote. No name on the door. You signed off on the restructure," Walter said. "Weeks ago." My heart stalled. "No, I didn't." He raised an eyebrow, tapped his tablet, swiped, turned it toward me. A signature. My name. My writing. My blood ran cold. "I never signed that," I said. "Then you must be confused." They moved on. Casual. Dismissing my protest like static on a radio. I stood up, throat dry. "You just gave away a billion-dollar company based on a forgery." Marisol's smile slipped for a half-second. Then, "Eva, don't be dramatic. It's a family decision." I left. I didn't slam the door. That would have been too easy. Too loud. I walked to my office, sat at my desk, opened the financials. Then I saw it. The Westbridge project, our flagship contract, a commercial tower spanning 3 city blocks, had a closed tag. Status sold. Date 3 days ago. Value $980 million. I clicked the contract. Signed. In my name. What the hell? My hand shook. I clicked metadata. Document modified by admin_super at 2:04 a.m. server location. Redacted. They sold it. They moved the money. And they used me to do it. Ping. A new message. No subject. No sender. Just text. "Walk away, Eva. The money's gone. So are your rights." I froze. Another ping. Second message. "Don't make the mistake your father did." I stood, locked the door, pulled the shades, unplugged the computer. I called Harold Grant. our family attorney. Straight to voicemail. I tried accessing the security server. Denied. Credential error. Someone had wiped me out. But they hadn't expected me to notice this fast. One more click. A folder named Audit under Archive popped up for a second, then vanished. Just like that. I pressed my back to the wall, breath shallow. That's when I realized someone wasn't just stealing my future. Someone was erasing me. I didn't go home. I couldn't. I didn't trust the locks, or the silence, or the air itself. Instead, I parked 4 blocks from Harold Grant's office, a downtown legal fortress of glass and stone. Family attorney. Trusted for decades. He'd written my father's will, watched me grow up, taught me how to read a contract before I could drive. His assistant said he was in a meeting. It was nearly 8 p.m. I waited in the hallway. 10 minutes. 15. He opened the door himself. Saw me. Flinched. Eva, he said, already sweating. Now's not a good. You said you'd protect the Sinclair name, I said, stepping inside. Was that just a slogan, or did you actually mean it? He shut the door with a shaky hand. Harold, I said quietly. Someone forged my signature. Sold the Westbridge project. For almost $1 billion. You have 30 seconds to explain what the hell is going on. He didn't deny it. He just looked at his wall of awards. That's a misunderstanding. You did sign a power of attorney clause. Bullshit, I snapped. I never signed anything giving Walter control. Not over me. Not over my shares. He pulled open a drawer. Too fast. My heart slammed. But it was just a file. He slid it across. These documents are dated, signed, notarized. Eva, you need to stop chasing ghosts. I flipped it open. My name. My signature. Again. But this time the ink bleed. The slant. It was wrong. I'd drawn that exact line on a different form years ago. They'd lifted it. Who's erasing me? I whispered. Harold's jaw tightened. You weren't supposed to see that yet. Click. My eyes locked on his. What do you mean yet? Cut. Outside, the wind kicked dust across the sidewalk. I stepped out into the dark, the file hidden under my coat. A cold breeze slid down my spine. I turned. No one there. Street light buzzed overhead. I walked to my car, reached for the door. Brown envelope, taped to the windshield. No name, no stamp, just my initials scrawled across the front. Inside, a flash drive, a blurry photo. Walter, sitting in a cafe, smiling across the table at a man with a half-burned face. Not just any man. Russell Keene. My father's best friend. Or used to be. I hadn't seen Russell since the funeral. He'd vanished. Retired early. Moved to Montana. Or so they said. That photo was dated 2 months before my father's death. Something cold opened up inside me. Back in the car, I plugged the flash drive into my dashboard system. Encrypted folder. No password. Just a title. Sinclair Transition. Black marble. Audio files. I hit play. Click. Static. Then voices. Walter, she's a liability. She asks too many questions. Russell. Then take her voice. Take her signature. Take everything. Quietly. The air around me froze. My fingertips tingled. Click. Another file. Rustling. Then Walter again. She thinks she earned her place. But we built this empire while she was drawing blueprints, like a little girl with crayons. Russell laughed. Click. Another file. Whispered. Unclear. Then, step 3, remove Eva. The car door behind me creaked. Ispun. Empty. Except a black SUV. Parked across the street. Engine running. Windows blacked out. I didn't breathe. Just drove. Every red light looked like a threat. Cut. I parked at a gas station. Bright lights. Security cameras. My hands shook as I stepped out. Then I saw it. A bullet casing, sitting on my trunk like a signature. Clean, polished, message received. This wasn't just about fraud. It was about erasure. Someone had built a machine, quiet, sharp, legal, and turned it against me. Family loyalty is just a slogan printed on checks. The flash drive buzzed again. New folder. Auto appeared. Timestamps. Meeting logs. Phase 4. I clicked. My father's name. Repeated. Over and over. Even after his death. Meeting logs dated posthumously. That was it. The smoking gun. The Westbridge sale wasn't just illegal. It was post-mortem. Someone had faked documents from a dead man. Used my name to close it. Used my sister's signature to back it. And they thought I'd never see it. If they planned to erase me, they should have done it before I found the file. The digital files weren't enough. I needed something real. Paper, ink, blood if I had to. The next morning, I walked into the county clerk's office like a ghost. The kind of place where nothing ever moved too fast, except your life if you missed a detail. I smiled at the receptionist. Not too much, just enough to disarm. I'm looking for property transaction records, I said. For Sinclair Holdings, filed within the last 60 days. She tapped, frowned. You'll need a FOIA request for internal company transfers, not for publicly recorded sales. Another tap. She squinted at the screen. Paused. There's a flagged notice on that file. Legal hold. My stomach dropped. Flagged by who? Attorney of record. Harold Grant. Cut. Back in my car. Rain on the windshield. Steady metallic. They'd buried the paper trail before I even knew to look. It wasn't just forgery now. It was collusion. Someone in legal. Maybe finance. Someone feeding them internal clearance before deals hit the radar. My phone buzzed. Private number. I answered. Static. Then a voice. Male. Calm. Familiar. If you keep digging, you'll find bones you can't bury again. Then click. I didn't breathe for 10 seconds. People don't threaten you when they're bluffing. They threaten you when you're close. Cut. I drove to my father's old office, abandoned since the restructuring, but the passcode still worked. Inside, dust, silence, and something else. Grief. The kind that doesn't scream, just hums under your ribs. I went straight to the old safe behind the bookshelf. One of those mechanical beasts from the 80s. No biometrics. No cloud backups. Just metal and memory. I turned the dial. Slowly. Hand steady. Click. Inside. 3 ledgers. A burner phone. 1 flash drive. And a small metal tin with a label. In case they come for her. I opened it. A letter. My father's handwriting. Eva. If you're reading this, they've gotten closer than I feared. Trust no one. Not Walter. Not even Marisol. Especially not Russell. I left breadcrumbs. In the numbers. Your mother always said you were the only one who could read chaos like a language. Follow the chaos. Dad. I sat down hard. The drive. The files. The timestamps. He'd known. He'd planned. And he'd left me a trail. Cut. That night, I broke into the server vault. Sinclair's off-site backup center. Coded access. Motion-triggered lights. No guards, too expensive. I crawled through the maintenance tunnel under the HVAC vent. Heat. Dust. Breathing like thunder. I found the node. Plugged in the flash drive from the tin. The screen blinked. Restoring. Project Black Marble. Phase 1/Phase 2. Then, images. Financials. Memos. 1 video file. I clicked. Grainy. Walter and Russell. Sitting in the same rooftop restaurant where they'd toasted my father's accidental death. Russell said, "Her silence is our signature." Walter. "And if she speaks?" Russell smiled. "Then we give them a new Sinclair." My lungs stopped working. My mother. Marisol. All part of it? I hit download. Screen flashed. Data breach detected. Trace initiated. Shit. I pulled the drive, bolted for the vent. Behind me, the light snapped on. Heavy boots on concrete. I didn't look back. I ran. Hard. Crawled through the vent. Dropped into the alley. Skinned my hand. Cut. I reached my car, ducked inside, heart jackhammering. As I pulled away, headlights flared behind me. The SUV. Again. They knew. They were watching everything. I merged into traffic. Fast. No patterns. No stops. Parked near a laundromat. Killed the engine. Sat in the dark. Rain on the roof. My own breath, fogging the glass. I was alone, but no longer in the dark. I don't want to survive this, Marisol. I want to burn them down. Naomi Ruiz met me behind St. Bridget's Chapel, the one place in Atlanta where the city noise died before it reached your ears. Fog clung to the pavement. Street lamps flickered like someone was testing the grid. She stood under the archway, hood up, eyes scanning everything. "You're late," she whispered. "I was being followed." "You still are." Her voice didn't shake. Mine almost did. She handed me a burner phone wrapped in a plastic evidence sleeve. "This is everything I pulled before they locked me out. Financial anomalies, server access logs, and the good part, audio recordings." "Recordings of what?" "Of them deciding you were a problem." Cut. We slipped into the chapel. Stained glass windows threw fractured light across the pews. The air smelled like old hymn books and secrets. Naomi sat, but she didn't relax. "Whatever you think this is, Eva, it's bigger. You're not dealing with corporate fraud. This is organized, structured, like someone wanted a blueprint for erasing you." My father's words echoed in my head. "Follow the chaos." What do they want? I asked. Not what. Who? She leaned closer. They want you gone. Legally first, then physically if needed. Some people don't kill you with bullets, they kill you with paperwork. My throat tightened. That's supposed to comfort me? It's supposed to prepare you. Cut. She opened her laptop. Dim screen. Lines of code. A map of server nodes branching like a diseased tree. "This is what they were scrubbing," she said. "And this." Click. Audio played. "Walter, she's digging. Faster than we expected." "Russell, then start phase 4. "Walter, you said phase 4 was hypothetical." "Russell, nothing is hypothetical anymore." Naomi paused it. "Phase 4 means removal." Removal like firing me, or... No. Silence settled over us like dust on a coffin. She closed the laptop. "We need to go." "Why?" A window shattered. Stained glass exploding in a rain of color. "Because they found us." Cut. Gunfire cracked through the pews. Wood splintered. Naomi yanked me behind the altar. "Move," she hissed. We crawled through a side door into the crypt stairwell. Concrete walls. Cold metal railings. Our breaths loud enough to betray us. Footsteps above. Fast. Heavy. Naomi's voice came low and calm. "There's a reason people say fear sharpens the senses. It forces you to choose what matters. What matters right now. Not dying." We reached the lower exit. Burst out into the alley behind the chapel. A motorcycle engine roared. Black helmet. No plates. A handgun in the rider's left hand. Naomi shoved me behind a dumpster as the shot cracked against the brick wall. Adrenaline lit my body like fire. "Run," she shouted. We sprinted toward the construction site next door. Steel beams. Exposed framework. The echo of danger in every hollow space. The motorcycle followed, weaving between half-assembled support columns. Naomi grabbed a nail gun from a tool cart and fired blindly. "Keep going," she yelled. The rider swerved, but kept coming. I ducked under scaffolding, climbed a ladder, metal rattling under my hands. The rider followed. Closer. Too close. At the top landing, I grabbed a loose steel bar and swung it. Hard. Metal hit metal. Sparks burst like fireworks. The rider lost balance just for a second, but enough to skid sideways and crash into stacked drywall. Naomi limped up behind me. We need to move. Backup will come. You're bleeding, I said. Blood means I'm alive. Keep walking. Cut. 30 minutes later, we reached her apartment. Small. Sparse. Curtains pulled tight. A single lamp casting soft yellow light. She sat on the couch, breathing heavy. There's something else you need to see. She opened a second folder on the burner phone. Photos. Walter. Russell. Dates. 2 months before my father died. Locations. Offshore accounts. Empty warehouses. Private meetings at 3 a.m. Then she swiped. Eva, look. An image of documents bearing Sinclair Holdings' corporate seal. Below it, Westbridge transaction completed 12 days before death of E. Sinclair Sr. My blood iced. He was dead, I whispered. No, Naomi corrected softly. He was alive when the first documents were forged, but dead when others were filed. Someone timed the signatures to make it look like he approved everything before the accident. Accident. Irrapata. Yeah. Accident. Cut. She handed me another photo. A rooftop. My father. Russell. Walter. Captioned in a handwritten scrawl. Transition rehearsal. My throat closed. They planned it. All of it. Naomi's voice softened. People do terrible things for power. Some do it because they believe they deserve the world. Others because they want to watch it burn. I swallowed hard. Which one is Russell? The second. Cut. What do we do now? She asked. We expose them. And survive long enough to do it. Thunder rolled outside. Rain streaked down the window like glass veins. I looked at the burner phone. At the files. At the proof they'd killed for. My pulse steadied. I don't want to survive this, Naomi, I said. I want to win. She stared at me for a long moment, then nodded. You will. But first, you need to know something else. What? She turned the screen toward me. Footage. Grainy. From my apartment hallway. A man entering my home. Picking my lock. Moving like he'd done it before. But it wasn't Walter. And it wasn't Russell. It was someone I once trusted. Someone who knew my passwords, my habits, my blind spots. Someone who shouldn't have been anywhere near my front door. My breath froze. This wasn't about money anymore. Someone wanted me dead, and I finally knew who. I didn't sleep the night before the rooftop meeting. Not because I was afraid. I'd passed afraid 2 chapters ago. What came after fear was something sharper. Something cold enough to cut through hesitation. Some futures we don't walk toward. They drag us by the throat. By dawn, the city felt wrong. Too quiet. Too dim. Like Atlanta itself was holding its breath. Naomi watched me from her kitchen table as I finished lacing my boots. Are you ready? No, I said. But I'm done running. She smirked, wounded but fierce. There are 2 kinds of people. Those who survive storms, and those who become them. Guess which one I'm choosing today. Cut. The first phase of the plan, bait the mastermind. I leaked a statement to 3 financial blogs. Just enough truth to be believable. Just enough rage to be Sinclair. Eva Sinclair to address $980 million embezzlement. Live on rooftop of Sinclair Holdings at midnight. Within 20 minutes, the press was circling. Within an hour, the board was panicking. Within 2 hours, Walter called me 6 times. I didn't answer once. By nightfall, every shark in the financial sector smelled blood. Cut. Midnight. The rooftop helipad glared under floodlights. Wind ripped through my hair. The whole city shimmered beneath me. Gold, black, restless. I stood in the center, the mic wire taped under my jacket. Naomi monitored the live stream from a block away. Police scanners on. Backup plan primed. Then the elevator dinged. Walter stepped out first. Pale. Sweating. His tie crooked. He looked like guilt wearing a suit. Eva, he breathed. Please, don't do this. You should have thought of that before you forged my life away. A second ding. Russell Keene emerged. He looked older than I remembered. Thinner. Eyes like scorched steel. He carried himself like a man who'd already rehearsed the destruction of an empire. Mine. Eva Sinclair, he said, almost fond. The daughter he shouldn't have trusted. You killed my father. Your father killed himself, Russell said calmly. He clung to principles in an industry that survives on compromise. I took a step forward. You stole his company. I reclaimed what he stole from me. His calm was more terrifying than a scream. Men, like him, didn't need volume. They had power instead. Walter tried again. Eva, the sale. None of that was supposed to involve you. That's the lie you always use, I said. She wasn't supposed to see that. She wasn't supposed to hear that. She wasn't supposed to exist long enough to interfere. Russell chuckled. And yet here you are. Cut. I tapped the mic in my jacket twice. Naomi signaled to start recording. A drone camera buzzed to life above us. Russell's eyes flicked upward. You came prepared. I learned from the best monsters, I said. His jaw tightened. Walter backed away. Your father's death was an accident, Walter insisted. Un terrible accident. Then why did you meet with Russell 2 weeks before it happened? Why were funds moved through offshore accounts under Dad's credentials after he died? The floodlights trembled as a storm breeze swept across the rooftop. Russell exhaled. You're not stupid, Eva. I'll give you that. But intelligence without obedience is a liability. Obedience is what cowards call loyalty. His smile evaporated. Cut. A sharp sound. Pop. Naomi screamed in my earpiece. Eva, down. I lunged behind a metal crate as a sniper bullet tore through the air where my head had been. Walter shouted. Russell ran for cover. Another shot cracked, hitting the railing. Sparks flew. Wind picked up. Rain started. Lightning split the sky open like a warning. Eva, Naomi gasped. The shooter's on an adjacent roof. 2 o'clock. You need to move now. I sprinted toward the helipad tower, heart pounding like it was trying to escape. Another bullet whizzed past. I threw myself behind a vent stack. Russell shouted from across the rooftop, voice echoing. You think you're fighting for justice? You're fighting for a man who never meant for you to inherit anything. Funny, I said, standing. He seemed to think otherwise. I lifted my phone, showing him the letter Dad left me. His expression cracked. Just a hairline fracture. Where did you get that? You shouldn't leave breadcrumbs when someone else knows how to follow the trail. Cut. Lightning illuminated the rooftop. Russell lunged toward the broadcast rig. A final attempt to destroy the evidence before the live stream transmitted his confession. But he didn't realize Naomi had set the trap hours ago. I hit the detonator. A controlled charge under the east catwalk blew. Just enough to collapse it, not enough to kill him. Steel groaned. The walkway dropped. Russell fell with it, slamming onto the lower platform. Alive, but broken. The drone hovered over him, recording everything. He looked up at me, blood running down his forehead. You think this ends with a confession? No, I said. It ends with the truth. Police sirens wailed from the street below. Walter knelt near the helipad entrance, clutching his arm. He'd been grazed by the sniper's first shot. Eva, he gasped. Please help me. I'll help you testify, I said. That's all the mercy you get. Cut. Naomi's voice trembled in my ear as the sirens drew closer. You did it. No, I said, staring at Russell's broken silhouette, the storm soaking into every crack of the rooftop. I'm just getting started. You killed the wrong Sinclair, Russell. I was the one you should have feared. 3 weeks after the rooftop, Russell Keene was denied bail. Walter Langdon took a plea deal. My sister disappeared from the press. Her image scrubbed from the Sinclair Holdings board page. Her silence was louder than any apology she could have faked. The headlines came like wildfire. Stealth heiress exposes billion-dollar fraud. Daughter turns tables on stepfather in corporate scandal. The Sinclair twist. Inheritance, deception, and revenge. But revenge was never the point. I sat in my father's old study, leather chair worn from years of quiet battles. The air still held that scent, aged wood and determination. I ran my fingers along the spine of his favorite book, a collection of essays on ethics and capitalism. Every empire, he once told me, is built on 2 truths, loyalty and betrayal. Your job is knowing which one you're standing on. I finally knew. Cut. My lawyer slid the last set of papers across the glass table. You're sure about this? She asked, brows lifted. 980 million. You could do anything. Own an island, launch a rocket. I don't want an empire built on bones, I said. I just want the truth to mean something again. Naomi stood behind her, arms folded, proud. They won't see it coming, she whispered. They never do, I said. I signed. Cut. The Sinclair fortune was liquidated in chunks. Strategic sales. Anonymous buyers. The media speculated wildly, but I ignored them. The funds? Rechanneled. A new foundation launched quietly under a different name. One dedicated to whistleblower protections. Women in finance. Uncovering offshore fraud networks. Justice, not headlines. Sometimes silence was louder than any press conference. Cut. A knock at the door. I opened it to find Lydia standing there. The sister who'd smiled through my exile, who'd worn designer guilt and whispered apologies that never stuck. She looked thinner, weathered. Eva, she began. I didn't know. I didn't want to know. We always know, I said. We just don't want to admit when silence benefits us. Tears welled in her eyes, but I felt nothing. Not hatred, not warmth. Just resolve. I didn't come for forgiveness, she said. Good, I replied, because it's not yours to ask for. It belonged to Dad, and you sold it. Cut. Weeks passed. The noise faded. I returned to my father's gravesite one gray morning. No cameras, no speeches, just stone and truth. Naomi waited in the car. Rain tapped softly against the windshield. I crouched beside the headstone. They tried to erase you, I whispered, but I buried them in your name. The wind shifted. A small, dry leaf skittered across the marble. The world felt still, if only for a second. Cut. A panel interview. Live. The host leaned forward. Miss Sinclair, your story has captivated the nation. Betrayal, power, redemption. But tell me, what would you say to those who think you went too far? I smiled. If the truth scares them, maybe it should. The crowd held its breath. Sometimes justice wears a suit. Sometimes it bleeds in boardrooms. But it always starts with someone refusing to stay silent. Pause. Beat. And I was never the quiet one. Cut. Freedom doesn't look like a check or a company. It looks like knowing you weren't crazy. That the shadows you saw in the corner of the room were real. That gaslight can't burn truth if you stand too close. Power isn't having more. It's needing less. And sometimes walking away is the loudest thing you can do. I didn't save a family. I didn't save a legacy. I saved myself. And I'd do it again.